Welcome everybody to our CIDDL office hour. Today is May 5th, 2026, and we are joined by our very special guest, Cheryl Lemke. I will turn it right over to Cheryl so we can get started and learn about the CIDDL needs assessment.
What I'm going to talk about today is the needs assessment that CIDDL is doing. We do an annual needs assessment to really drive the product and service development within CIDDL. And this is our first year of a new 5-year contract. And so we're very excited to kind of take a look at the data and then move on with all the great suggestions that we have. What I'm going to do today is just give you kind of a glimpse into the data that we've collected so far. We're still collecting data, so if you're interested in contributing, feel free. We'll make sure you get that link. First of all, we had 173 respondents. Well, actually, we had 30 more, but we figured out that they were bots. So I'm and actually, of course, removed those. There's lots of checks that you have to do these days when you're collecting data online. But 52% of our respondents were institutions of higher ed. 44% were K-12, and 4% were national and state. And what I'm reporting to you today on is the higher education piece of it. So 90 people responded from higher ed, and you can see who they are. Most of them are faculty, some deans, some adjunct professors, some students, and some program directors. And this is the slide I'm really excited about, the fact that almost 80% of the people who responded had responsibilities in special education. And that's really important to us because that's certainly the target for CIDDL, as well as kind of general. And then you can see the list somewhere in early childhood. This number is higher than prior years, and leadership programs, graduate programs, and then related services. So we've got a really good mix of people in the loop. So again, what I'm going to do is very quickly just give you a glimpse into the data that we have. One is we ask a lot of questions about vision. What's the vision that faculty, administrators, and others have for using technology, AI, and assistive technologies in their preparation programs? And you can see this slide actually shows you some of the top responses, like faculty who teach and model effective uses of AI with pre-service teachers, faculty who are current in emergent research on AI and ed tech, the practical examples, the faculty who model the uses of assistive technology with teachers and productivity. And the implication here that we see from CIDDL's perspective is that it's really critical for us to have that strong link to K-12. So we are on the cusp of what's going on with K-12, because those who are teaching future teachers need to help those future teachers get ready for the K-12 world. We also ask questions about status. So we ask, what are your needs? But we also ask, what are you doing right now? Because we can see from that perspective what they're really soaring with and where they actually need help. And so one of the questions we asked was how are you currently using AI in your professional practice? And you can see we've got a lot of different examples that they can choose from. They did a check all that apply. And you can see that top of the list was create, edit, and write and improve content, which is just great. Some of the ideas were case studies and, reading levels and et cetera, et cetera. Rubrics, assessments, advancing UDL for multimodal learning, generating lesson plans, creating images, and the list goes on. It's interesting to note that the streamlining of the administrative tasks and workflows is a little bit lower than some of the others. And so these are areas certainly that we'll be working with the target population to increase over the years. And now that we have a baseline, it'll be interesting to see how that moves. Another one that we asked was, what do you need from us? What are you really interested in terms of CIDDL products and services that would be most valuable to you in 2026? And we kind of classify this into two different categories. One is kind of the products and services that people come and grab and watch and read and listen to and then go away and use them. And those are, they're really interested. The top one is really interested in practical examples of how K-12 is using ed tech and AI just to inform how we're working with pre-service teachers. Another one is regular updates, and we're already doing that with our newsletter, et cetera. Case studies was a really interesting one. People really want to get under the hood and see what's really going on in the field in terms of AI and ed tech use. This one is also a really interesting one that we proffered. It's learning segments on AI and ed tech that faculty can then pick up that segment and turn around and use it in their own pre-service program. And again, people were really interested in that in-depth research briefs and videos. And we actually had check all that apply. And then we asked a follow-up question of those that checked, what were your top priorities? And what we found were really top of mind were the practical examples and the learning segments. People have heard about the theory of AI, and now they want to go on with the practical examples and learning segments. We also saw some responses. Notice these are lower responses, so less people are ready to kind of move on into the in-depth piece of it, but they're really interested in series. So we would, in this case, for example, we would have a group of people who are interested in a particular topic and then do a series over time of ed tech and AI topics. The strategic planning process, where we're anticipating forming a technology alliance with a number of universities in the next few years and helping them strategically, but in an in-depth process. Informed chatbot, and then the online community is another one that people are interested in. Not as many, but there still are some people who are really interested in kind of getting into depth and moving forward within a community. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you were just some ideas about, we asked a question, what's a burning issue? What keeps you awake at night in terms of AI, IT, AT, and ed tech? And it's interesting. The first one that I put up there was just the need to find AI usage in student work, with the idea that people are beginning to do a catching of students using AI rather than focusing on how can we effectively and strategically use AI. So it's like, let's catch all the students, but we're not really helping them to actually use it in a better way. Another one that they said was just teaching students about the theoretical knowledge of how they can use the theoretical knowledge when using AI to lighten their load. So it's like increasing productivity, but also not steering them in the wrong direction. So you've got to have some idea about what to expect, and then catch and ask AI when you see that it's kind of moving in a direction that you didn't expect. So it's that commonsensical thing that we need. And the third one is moving faculty beyond thinking that AI is cheating. And this person actually said that we're actually keeping special ed from moving forward in the field because we have so many faculty who are not actually on board and moving in that direction. And then the fourth and fifth one, worried about cognitive overload. We've got an expert here who actually does, and we've already done some papers on cognitive offloading, but that whole idea of our students actually losing the ability to think deeply and apply. And so the faculty are really interested in knowing what they can do about that and how they can recommend students use AI while also making sure that they're thinking deeply and moving forward. And then the final one is the fast-moving issue of preparing faculty. This person puts all the words that we're talking about, the important topics of is it ethical, is it accessible, is it instructionally sound, et cetera. And that we really need to make sure that there's some high quality standards in this arena. So I'm going to stop there and see if there are some comments and questions, anything that resonates with you, anything that these people have said that are burning issues or trends that actually resonate with your experience.
Every year we do this, Cheryl, I always think back to our initial needs assessment and how it's changed actually over the last 5 or 6 years now. And we were talking about this morning a little bit as a small group when we started looking at this initial data. So, folks, you're seeing this data for the first time. We saw it really for the first time this morning in an early meeting. So that's how much we really believe in our community and sharing out kind of what's going on. And we're going to be publishing this data actually this year and kind of talking about how these trends have changed over the last few years. But Cheryl, it just goes back to show kind of how we are changing. What are some big reflections you have? Maybe if you think back to the some of the initial ones to where we are now. I know I have some, but I don't know if you want to share any.
Sure. Well, one of the things is that AI was not on the landscape, when we actually started 5 years ago with CIDDL. And so I think the energy behind this and the interest behind it, and also kind of the concerns, are at a higher level than they've ever been before. So I think there's this renewed interest in ed tech AI, but also the concerns that are going on. The other thing is that I think that whereas 5 years ago, people were asking, which tool do I use and how do I use it? Now people are saying, whoa, let's back up for a minute. And as you saw in the comments in the burning issues, what's the pedagogical basis for actually doing this? What does the research say? Are we actually getting more effective learning as a result of this? And how can we better help our students to manage this kind of thing? And I think right now, from the comments that we're seeing, faculty are very aware that they have to bring students to a new level, that they take a new responsibility for what they're doing, because there's so much opportunity for misinformation and for not prompting AI correctly, so you don't get what you're really looking for. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with everything. I think that people are looking at this more deeply, seeing a more human-centered sort of approach towards technology and how critical it is to be human-centered in the way that we integrate technology tools, especially when it comes to AI. Moving past, as everyone's kind of heard me on this group talk about moving beyond the cool tools into more meaningful and in-depth learning. Not that learning new tools aren't important, but how to use them effectively in a human-centered approach is a way to move forward. And I think that's what we're seeing. So yeah. It's a great, I love seeing this data. So, but I know Angelica's probably gonna want to turn off the recording, so I'm gonna hand it back over to her.
Yeah, I'm going to give one more opportunity if anyone has a question they'd like to ask before we end the recording. Now's the time. All right. Don't see anything coming up. So thank you so much for joining us for our CIDDL office hour. We look forward to seeing you in our next CIDDL office hour on May 19th. You can find that information on our social media sites, LinkedIn, and on our CIDDL website. We look forward to seeing you then.